All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started then. I call this meeting to order, the February 9th school directors meeting, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Bob. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. So I'd like to take a moment before we get started and before we adopt the agenda. Shelton School District this week lost one of our own. Someone who was very caring, was honestly the heart and soul of our district. So I wanted to take a moment to remember Ricardo del Bosque, to remember all that he did for our district, for our students, for our community, and for his family, his friends and family as well. He was a very caring individual. He thought of others first. It was very sad that we lost him this week. So I'd like to take a moment just to remember him, have a moment of silence before we begin. Thank you. I know many of you were friends, not just colleagues, but friends with Ricardo as well. And our hearts go out to his family and his friends right now. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the adoption of the agenda. So we do have one slight change. There is for 6.03, which is the proposed resolution for adopting the WIAA delegating authority. It should read for the 2020-21 school year. So that's the only slight change to the agenda. Have board members had a chance to look it over? And if so, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the agenda for this evening.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda for February 9th. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any opposed? All right, so the agenda is adopted. So moving on to item number 3, which is community comments. So as a part of the regular school board meeting, the board invites community members to make public comments in person and by phone as conditions allowed by calling the number and entering the appropriate ID that is presented on our website. Our public comment procedure allows each person 3 minutes to speak, and comments will be heard during the 2 community comment periods as listed on the agenda. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the board is not allowed to discuss items that are not on the agenda. The board may direct the superintendent to follow up on certain items that arise during public comment if appropriate. As with in-person meetings, public comments received in writing or email will not be read aloud, but will be directed for follow-up where appropriate. Please be mindful of how you present your testimony, as the board will not allow complaint against an individual staff member or student in open session unless that individual has requested an open public hearing. Please state your name before speaking. All right, so Bob, if you could just review for us the directions for raising hands and muting and unmuting, that would be great.
Thank you. Everybody joins the meeting muted. To unmute yourself on a telephone, it's *6. If you wish to speak, please use *9 to raise your hand, which shows up on people's screens so they can see that there's somebody that wishes to make a comment. I will have a timer running, which will sound at the 3-minute mark, and I'll have it up by the microphone so anybody can hear it. But *6 mutes or unmutes you on a telephone. *9 raises your hand. Thank you.
All right, is there anyone who would like to make public comment at this time? All right, I am not seeing anyone raising their hands. I'll give another couple seconds here before we move on. All right, I'll see no one interested in making public comment at this time. There will be another opportunity later in the board meeting after the superintendent's report. All right, moving on to reports and recognitions. Our first item is 4.01, which is the district improvement plan presentations. And we will start with Brenda Trogstad.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Let me share my screen here. I was actually happy to see someone else messed up a date because I noticed that when I was preparing this, I had 1920 still on it. The day I was doing it, I was working with the state auditor on our 1920 audit. So it has been corrected. This is my DIP plan for the 2020-21 school year. So the first, of course, our vision is 100% graduation for all. The goal number 1 is improve overall academic achievement for students. So what I do, I monitor all possible funding sources. And this year that's been quite interesting with the ESSER money and more to come, to provide adequate instructional materials and interventions to promote student achievement across the district. I also work with the building principals and the department heads. We prioritize budget resources. I get emails and phone calls all the time, asking about, do we have money to do this? So I try to work with everyone to get them what they need. Goal number 2 is increase school quality and student success indicators. When we're working on budgets in the spring, I work with the administrators, including building principals, to create their budgets. We provide funding for programs and services that are most important for the student success. We also provide resources in the budget that continues to focus on safety and security in our schools, whether that be supplies, staffing, trainings, all sorts of things. Goal number 3 is ensure every staff member is a 21st century educator. This year, that's been even more challenging because of being online for most of the year. The technology department, we're continuing to support staff with technology to provide 21st century instruction. We just ordered more hotspots this week. We ordered some additional cameras to assist when we're coming back in hybrid so we can stream classrooms along with showing the teacher. So all sorts of things happening there right now. We provide resources to assist staff in using the new technology. We've done some trainings on the interactive projectors and we'll continue to do that. I believe we're working with Choice right now because they just got theirs. So we're going to get some people trained so they can train the staff there. We've been scheduling when we were in person. I'm not sure if it's still happening, but I believe it is, scheduling the building techs to attend the staff meetings so they can assist the teachers and all staff members with their tech questions. And I just have to give a shout out. Ian Denon was nominated for an award at Shelton High School this last week. So he's doing a great job at that too. And all the building techs are in helping out. So then goal number 4, promote equity in all aspects of Shelton School District. I work with the administrators to prioritize what resources are needed to promote equity district-wide. And then I also include a diverse group of stakeholders when we have the budget advisory committee. Alex and I go through and we have business representation, we have parent representation, all sorts of representation on that group. So that is my DIP plan for this year. Are there any questions?
No questions from me, but I was counting the bullet points there. There's only 9. And I know that it's really hard to boil down the complexity of your job into a district improvement plan. I just want to say thank you for everything that you do. I know you've got a lot on your plate, and it's been made even bigger with all of COVID. So I appreciate the plan that you put together. I know that it's hard to, like I said, boil every single thing down that you're doing into 9 bullet points. So
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Brenda?
I just have a question, Brenda. So I mean, I know looking for funds is hard normally, and now with things just happening so rapidly in the legislature and at the federal level, do we get assistance from OSPI or some other? Is somebody helping us out, letting us know when funds become available, or is that?
Yes, I have a constant, I don't know, line to TJ Kelly, who's the chief fiscal officer at OSPI.
Okay.
He's very great at communicating. I have webinars that he goes through and explains everything. So he's my lifeline on that type of thing.
Yes, it's hard to keep on top of
Yeah.
all of that. That's coming out of the legislature. So that's good to know. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Brenda. Oh, Alex, go ahead.
I was just waiting to see if any other board member had any comments, but I just want to echo what Lynn and Carrie have mentioned. In addition to monitoring almost $100 million, you include everything that comes into our district. I just want you to know that there's no question that we are very fortunate to have Brenda involved in our budget. The second thing is that she has more than just the budget to worry about. She's got transportation, food services, custodial issues, technology. She has a full plate, and she's doing an exemplary job in all areas of responsibility. And we're very fortunate to have Brenda. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you, Alex.
All right. Thank you, Brenda. We'll move on to Bob Tronsend, talk about assessment.
Thank you. Bob, can you share my document, please?
Which one? I have 2 of them from you, I think.
The one that's, I think, titled DIP. Thank you. Perfect. So assessment has been kind of an interesting thought this year, this past 12 months, actually. So my role has changed a little bit at different times, depending on different needs. And so for the first goal, overall academic, improve overall academic achievement for students. We try to remain flexible around assessments possible for use during the 2021 school year, with our initial goal being to shift to different benchmarks to accommodate the online platform. And we're still making adjustments as to what benchmarks we're going to be using in the spring when we have the kids back. We accommodate testing changes as outlined by the state when applicable, and preparing for the traditional approach if needed. The state is still a little bit in flux as to what's going to happen with state testing. We're getting a little more definition around things like the ELPA 21, but SBAC testing, there's the directive to continue planning as if things are going to go off as normal, but we're still waiting to hear for some waivers and things that and legislation that are currently in process. And so part of what has then filled my time is working to create and develop systems to improve our process for identifying student pathways for graduation in conjunction with CTE and academies. And so what that means, Don Wielander, Dina Alley, and I have spent quite a bit of time going through student transcripts, basically all our juniors and seniors, and seeing if any of them have, or how many of them have CTE pathways already in place, how many are close and may need a schedule change to reach that, because we don't have the testing option for all of our students because we haven't tested last year and we're not sure what's going to happen this year. We're trying to make sure that we get as many students into a pathway, and the CTE pathways are one of the ones that the monitoring is been kind of a special challenge this year. And so we're working to try and streamline that whole process. For goal 2, increasing school quality and student success indicators, we monitor and distribute disaggregated attendance data that will be adjusted as we move from stage to stage. And so, for instance, as we start bringing kids back in person, we'll be adding discipline data as well. Up to this point, discipline hasn't really been an issue, with nobody to speak of in our schools. And then also I support buildings with data as needed for the new situations that arise. Both traditional data that we've done around things like attendance and credits and grades, but then also some of it's been in a little bit different formats. Again, things like around the pathways, etc. For goal 3, ensure every staff member is a 21st century educator. I work with the curriculum platforms to provide access for all appropriate staff as needed. So that includes not just things like K-12, but also the EDS system and the SBAC system and homeroom, and making sure that everybody has access where they need it. One of the goals is to provide training for a new format for the homeroom data system. That's hasn't happened yet, but that's still in the works before this year's out. Provide data to appropriate stakeholders throughout the year to help drive instructional goals, and also to provide leadership around the exploration for implementation of district-wide standards-based grading and identifying what's going to be necessary in the way of professional development as appropriate for each building and each grade level. That's an ongoing process that will continue to be ongoing for some time. Goal number 4, promote equity in all aspects of the Shelton School District. I support all of our departments and buildings with testing as applicable. Provide disaggregated data at the end of each month or earlier around attendance and other areas as requested. And I facilitate the uploading of accommodations into the assessment systems for equitable assessment access for all of our students. Any questions?
So questions for Bob.
Again, I don't have any questions. I really appreciate, Bob, how you keep us up to date in the weekly board reports, because that's helped me better understand how much you have been doing during this period of time. So I really appreciate you sending that on each week. And my 13-year-old daughter continues to ask me all the time if there's going to be testing when she goes back to school. So I know it's definitely on the students' minds how this is going to end up. So I was curious about that as well. It sounds like the state, that's still going to be an evolving process as this year goes on, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, we're waiting, from what I understand, we're waiting for a decision on a waiver that they turned in quite a while ago around whether the testing for accountability was going to be necessary. And so that comes from the federal government, and they've had a few things on their plate that may have taken priority over things like state testing. So
Yes.
we haven't heard, as far as I know, we haven't heard unless something came through very recently. There has been some legislation around the pathways and maybe some assessment waivers for our high school students, but while it looks like that's moving through the legislature, that's not finalized yet. So
Okay. Thank you for the update.
Any other questions for Bob? That's actually what I was wondering about, Bob, was the, where we're at in terms of legislature and potential waivers for graduations for our seniors, since they're sort of in a position of last year not testing, like potentially this year not testing. So sounds like that's a in process kind of thing at the moment.
yeah, In fact, yesterday afternoon, I was watching the Senate Education, K-12 Education Committee, and they passed it out of their committee by unanimous vote. And so it looks promising that there will be a waiver similar to what we saw last year. But as you know, it's never done until it's done.
Yeah, that's very true. Other questions or comments? Alex, I see that you have something.
Comment, Bob is dealing with a very ambiguous environment. And yet he's keeping us very well informed. He's keeping us on a steady pace forward. And I believe we're prepared for whatever comes down the road from the state based on what Bob has put together organizationally. So we're in great shape. And I appreciate Bob keeping us on a steady path and being ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So seeing no other further comments, we'll go ahead, and looks like Bob's up again for item 4.02, which is a report on reasons for student withdrawal from the district.
So Bob, if you could share that other document. There we go. So at the last board meeting, when Brenda was presenting some of our enrollment data, the question came up about, did we know what was happening with our kids, where they were going, et cetera. So I went through what we have in Skyward. I had to make a few executive decisions about how to combine things so we didn't end up with 450 different reasons for withdrawals. But basically, when a student withdraws, there's a code entered for them, and then there's reasons as well. And normally, we're pretty good about making sure everything matches up the right way. Sometimes there's a little disconnect, and so some of these categories, I've sort of lumped some groups together that seem to be in the same general areas. So I debated a little bit whether to include the the in-district transfer category there. In-district transfer means pretty much what it sounds like, that student has moved from one school in our district to another. And so those account for a pretty fair chunk of why students were showing as withdrawals. Within our Skyward system, I don't think that really has a big impact on the numbers Brenda was presenting at the last board meeting, because that wouldn't cause our enrollment to drop if a student just moved to a different school in our district. The ones that were a little more informative are the homeschool virtual academy, where about 22% of our students who have withdrawn, that's where they went to. We have 41% of our students who are a confirmed transfer, meaning that they transferred to another district, and we have confirmation of that, either a records request or we made contact at some point to make sure that that's truly what happened to them. We did have one early graduate, so included that. The excuse me, the dropout numbers are fairly consistent with what we've seen in the past. So there wasn't a huge surprise there. We continually try and track those kids down. We haven't pursued that quite as steadily this year because of so many other things on people's plates, but that's something that we'll continue to take a look at and find out if we can identify where those students actually ended up, whether they're confirmed transfers or if they really did just disappear on us. The bottom chart shows the percent by school. And so again, because those in-district transfer numbers are included, those maybe need to be taken with a little grain of salt. For instance, Mountain View has a very high number of in-district transfers. And as I went through, that kind of surprised me. And so as I went through, I looked, and most of those, many of those anyway, are students who were assigned to Mountain View as preschoolers in past year and now have been spread out to the other elementary schools. And so that's part of the reason why that number is as big as it is, and isn't really representative of the number of students who have left Mountain View. Are there any questions or anything more? This was kind of at your request, what you were looking for. So if this doesn't fit what you wanted, I'm glad to take another crack at it.
The questions. So Bob, I do have a question. The homeschool, private school, virtual academy number, is that sort of consistent to what we see year to year, or higher, lower? Do you have any idea about that?
That I didn't compare it to previous years. I believe that's significantly higher. I think as we went to totally online, I think we had more people decide they were going to go a different direction. I don't know that that means that we won't get them back, but I believe that's a higher number than what we would normally see at this point.
Sure, that makes sense. So as we're moving towards the to going to the hybrid model, have we, and this may not be a question that can be answered at this point, but are we seeing more enrollment at this point? Kids coming back basically as now that we're starting to move that direction? I don't know if that's a question you can answer, Bob, or maybe someone else knows.
I don't.
Sorry, Bob. I was just gonna, we don't have the counts this month yet. We're just still putting them together. I tried to get them today, but we're not quite there yet. So.
Okay. Okay, great.
Thank you. That's what I was going to refer you to Brenda with kind of that same thought.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I guess just looking at the dropout rates too that you see there, and of course the higher ones are Shelton High School and Choice. Are those similar to other years as well, or is this higher this year due to the pandemic?
This actually is pretty similar to what we've seen in the past as far as the overall numbers. Actually the Choice and Cedar numbers, I believe, are maybe a little bit lower than what we've seen in the past. But yeah, this isn't like wildly out of line.
Okay. And then I'm just noticing that the homeschool option looks like that was like the elementary schools were taking more advantage. It seems like students in those age brackets were going to that more often than it looks like some of the upper grades. And then I would be curious too. I'm sure that it's information that you all will be providing us as we move along. Having two kids going through this hybrid process, I know that the schools are reaching out to families at this point and trying to see whether or not they are still choosing to stay with whichever option that they had indicated. So once we actually move into going live with the hybrid situation, I will be curious to see if there are more than we anticipated coming back, if there are less, just as we kind of continue to evolve through this, school year where we're now moving into a new adjustment of the hybrid situation. I'm curious to hear what the percentages are there as well too. But thank you for putting this information together. I was curious about it myself. And, just in comparison to other years, I know Brenda at the last board meeting had reported that I think we're down about 300 students from our typical enrollment. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, Brenda, if that was about the number.
You're very close to, yeah.
So, yeah, I just was wondering, just trying to get a good idea of where that's going and what our situation is. So thank you for putting the information together.
You bet.
Any other questions or comments for Bob?
Just a comment, I think once we start bringing our students back to school, I think we're going to see an influx of students coming back. That would be my prediction. I know that parents are, families are anxious to get their students back to school, and I really believe we're going to see a positive effect based on what we're trying to do in our school district. So we'll be monitoring this very closely and reporting back to you as a school board. As you know, we're probably one of the few school districts in the state of Washington that are near or above our projected enrollment, even with everything else happening. But in terms of your question, Carrie, you were on the mark there. We're about 300 students down from where we were, well, practically every year since I've been here. We're down about 300 students. And obviously it's due to the pandemic and everything else that's going on. But let's hope that our kids come back, and I believe they will.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Bob. That was very informative. It's good to, I always appreciate your data and your charts. It's always helpful to see those. All right, so we'll move on to item 4.03, update of athletics and activities with Trevor.
Well, hello, everybody. It's nice to see everyone. Well, we were really excited here in the athletic department. We started practices last Monday, and so we've had 7 days of practice now, including today. We started off using the new screening policy in our athletic department. So we were using the monitors. So the kids do come into the mini dome in the lobby and they check in. We made sure that when they first did it, they came in and they were able to open up their email and get verified. And there was about 50% of the students that got it, and the other 50% did not. We continually, over the next couple of days, made sure that they were signed in, and roughly about 95% of the kids now are using the screen-in policy. So that means almost 300 of our students already know how to use these screeners. So that was a very big positive for us. I just want to talk a little bit about where athletics is right now. Obviously, we are in phase 1 here in our region. We have multiple sports that are in different categories. So we have low risk sports, moderate risk sports, and we have high risk sports. Our low risk sports are cross country, golf, tennis, track and field, and no contact sideline cheerleading and dance, and swimming and diving. Our moderate risk sports are baseball, bowling, soccer, volleyball, and softball. And our high risk sports are basketball, football, wrestling, and then cheerleading and dance with contact. As you know, they put us in regions, and we are in the Northwest region, which made it so we were not in our conference, the Evergreen 2A. All the other schools are south of us. So what we had to do is we wanted to make sure that our sports that we could play, we stayed in our Evergreen conference, and the sports that we might have to cancel because we were not in the same category, we stayed in our region. So I'll just explain that here in a little bit. So we have low risk outdoor sports, which are cross country, golf, tennis, and track and field. So right now in the fall sports, we have cross country, golf, and tennis, and they can practice and play games no matter what. So it doesn't matter what the metrics are, those sports are allowed to take place. We have low risk indoor sports, which is swimming. For swimming, they can practice, but they cannot hold competitions until we are in phase 2. We have moderate risk outdoor sports, which right now is soccer. Soccer as well, they can practice outdoors all they want, but until we go to phase 2, they cannot participate in games. And then we have moderate risk indoor sports, which is volleyball. So they can practice with modifications. So they have to stay in pods of 6, stay separated, all that fun stuff, use different balls. And they as well cannot have games until we get to phase 2. And then we have high risk outdoor sport right now, which is football. And football, again, they can practice with some restrictions, and they cannot play games. The governor came out a couple weeks ago, and they were doing the weekly metrics. Now it's every 2 weeks. So this week we were supposed to start our soccer and our volleyball and our football games. And because we are not in phase 2 yet, those sports will not happen hopefully until next week. However, tomorrow we will have our first sporting activity here in almost a year, and the boys are playing tennis against Black Hills. And I do want to emphasize, with being in phase 1, there are no spectators allowed on campus to watch those activities. So I did send out an email to parents to let them know that they cannot come to campus. We can only have the players, the coaches. We have a couple of our photography students that are going to be there for yearbook taking pictures, and possibly myself, and that's about it. So we have to make sure that, you know, parents are aware of that, and they know that they cannot come on campus. So what I was talking about a little bit before about the regions, so on Friday, the tennis team goes to WF West. Since they are in phase 2, parents can attend that game. So once we get into phase 2, we can have up to 200 spectators to come watch. So currently, if we get to phase 2 by next week, which I hope we will be able to have 200 people come to either a volleyball game, soccer game, or a football game, but that includes players, players, workers, coaches, officials, everybody. So if you add up football players and the officials and the coaches, you're at 200 people. So unfortunately for football, we all decided as a league or a region that we would not allow home fans into the stadium. For the other sports, that's still up in the air. However, as I said, for cross country, golf, tennis, swimming, we have a limitation with the size of our pool area, how many people we can have in our pool. We are allowed to have live competition, but most of the competitions right now are virtual because there's some other schools, they have transportation issues and some other things that are going to forbid them from being able to come. So some of the meets will be virtual. We're hoping that some teams will come in person, but again, we will not be allowed to have spectators in our pool. We will be live streaming as many games as possible. Football will be on Mason Web TV, and we will be home and away for those games. For volleyball and soccer, we are going to create a YouTube channel so we can live stream those games, and as well for swimming. We're going to try to do the same for them. So I just want to move on really quick here to our facilities. They are 99.5% complete. And the kids, you should see their faces when they walked in and saw the facilities. They're just blown away by what we were able to accomplish with the money that we had. And the latest thing that we were able to add was we finally got the equipment for the weight room. And if you will, I would like to show a little video. Some of you may have seen it before, but I'm going to show a little video of our weight room, and I really hope you enjoy it. And let me see if I can figure out how to share all this here. If I don't screw up. Let's see here. There we go. All right. All right. Can you all see this? All right. Here we go. So that pretty much concludes the our facilities, and we got most of our equipment in. So I just want to thank, I don't know if you know how much of an undertaking that was to put all that equipment together, but we had 5 semis show up full of equipment. It took about 8 to 9 days to assemble. We had literally a Mount Rainier of cardboard in the wrestling room. When we took it all apart, it was piece by piece, bolt by bolt, and we had help from parents. Our custodial staff was phenomenal. They came in and removed a lot of the cardboard and boards and everything else we had, and got it all put together. So we are super excited. Can't wait to see, the future of Shelton Athletics, and not only what our facilities and our fields, but also that weight room will be able to do for our athletes.
Thank you, Trevor. That was impressive. I know I've had a little peek in the weight room several months ago, and it's pretty phenomenal space. I mean, the video is amazing, but when you get into the space with all those windows, and it's pretty amazing. So, and I know you're really proud of it. So any comments or questions from the board?
I just think it's exciting to see your excitement, Trevor, and the pride that is there. I think that's gonna, resonate with our community and the kids too. So it's just exciting for our kids to have something to be really proud of.
Yeah, it's wow. It's something else. Just, I hope that we find a way that we can really put it out there to the community, that the help, not, we've often said things about supporting the bond and everything, but hands-on help that people are giving to make sure that this is here for our kids for many, many years to come. Yeah, it's beautiful.
I had the opportunity to go on Friday as well and tour the weight room. Trevor invited me over there to come see it, and I felt the same way, Sally. I can't wait for the ability to, whether it's small groups, however we can do this safely, or when the time comes, to allow the community to come in and see exactly, where they voted yes on this bond. We got the state match, where this money went to, because I was blown away. Trevor saw my face when I walked into that weight room. I mean, as an alumni who went to high school there, and I worked out in Coach U's, gym that he put his blood, sweat, and tears into, to walk into that facility, I literally was brought to tears, happy tears. Trevor could tell, and I had the ability to see students actually using the equipment. It was really just an amazing experience that day to be able to see that. So the weight room is amazing. The other athletic facilities, I had a chance to walk around and see those, and see the student athletes using them, see in the pool how they're spaced 6 feet apart. I saw the divers utilizing the new diving boards. Trevor took me out to the field where it looked like either cheer or dance was practicing on the field, as well as the soccer players. I got a chance to see the new shot put area and the baseball fields where baseball players were on the field using it. And it was just, it was amazing. It really is amazing to see our kids using that. And I can't wait. I love that we get to do events. It breaks my heart a little bit that there can't be fans. I know that does any parent that's got a student athlete out there, and we just have to take baby steps and appreciate what we can right now. But it's really amazing to see kids out there being active, using these new facilities that we, have been putting together. It was wonderful to see. So thank you, Trevor, for taking the time to show me all of that. Your assistant that said that he put together all of the equipment, something like, 70 hours worth of putting together equipment. That's pretty amazing. And I also did get to witness students doing the check-in and getting their temperature taken. So it was really nice to be able to go in and see that myself.
And I was going to say,
go on and on.
yeah, I was going to say, the look on Carrie's face that's exactly what we wanted to see. It's that's why I love showing people the facilities for the first time, just that reaction. And, when Carrie was crying, it just made me feel so happy that she was crying. And then, I also like to thank, Brenda also, because, she was the one that gave me permission to, pick out the equipment and be able to get what we wanted to get, because we know the equipment that we got is going to last for 30, 40 years. And, that's going to make a big difference as well. So we wanted to make sure that everything we got was quality, and that it just blows my mind that, and sometimes when people walk in, they go, "This is Shelton." And it's a great feeling that they take pride in that. So thank you, everybody.
It's just unbelievable. It just is. I watched that and I'm just going, oh my gosh. I can imagine what the students that get to come in there, it's just, it blows me away. Because in my mind, I'm from the generation before Carrie and Sally, so what we had at Shelton was a lot different. But thinking about those students who have just graduated in the last few years, and to think about what their reaction would be, it's something else. That's wonderful. I'm so happy for students that are going to come back and in the years to come.
And the video doesn't really do it justice. So I did send an email to the rest of you. If you want to come in sometime, just get a hold of me. Doesn't matter if it's early morning, late at night, on the weekend, whatever you can. I want to show you the facilities as well. So.
And I really encourage you to do that. Go see it in person. It is just amazing. It really is. And Trevor was showing me too that the opposing team, when they come to visit, they will walk past the windows of that weight room with the lights on, like for a football or a soccer game, and they'll walk past that and see exactly, what we have to work with here in Shelton. And hopefully that'll be intimidating to them, but, or awe-inspiring. It's something to definitely be proud of. Our community should really be proud of this. And I'm just very much looking forward to the rest of our community being able to see it.
Alex?
The real essence of what we've seen is that there's a high correlation between these facilities and our vision of 100% graduation. To be able to inspire and motivate our students, to show how much we care about them, that we want them to be successful, we want them to graduate and go beyond. All of this fits together. It's not a separate entity. It's in addition to everything that we're doing in terms of the athletic complex, it has a high correlation with academic achievement. If kids are feeling good about themselves, if they feel good about their school, they're more apt to stay in school and do extremely well academically. So we've hit this from all directions, academically, through our academies, and through our facilities. And that's a great organization when you can continue to push both and relate them to each other. That's what's going to continue to make Shelton School District great. So I'm very pleased.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Trevor. Appreciated that. Appreciated the video as well. All right. So moving on to item 4.04, report on K-8 sports and activities with Mark Smith.
Thanks for having me on here tonight, guys. I'll tell you, I echo a lot of all your sentiments. Being an alumnus here of Shelton and coming back, I tell you, these facilities are like destination, facilities. They're going to attract, retain a lot of personnel, and it's going to attract people, kids. We talk about walking other teams past those windows. When they go and see these facilities, kids are going to want to come to Shelton. People are going to want to come to Shelton. Shelton's on the map, and the cool thing is when you get the kids in there, right? Facility is just a facility. programs are just programs. People make the difference, you know, and you can buy all the best equipment you want, but the thing about it is we got good, highly trained people to use this and train our athletes and build our athletic programs. And like Dr. Apostle said, you know, that mental, social, and emotional well-being, when people feel good about themselves, they do great things. And they tend to strive for higher academics and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of with Carrie, you know, I worked for Coach U. I opened up that weight room after I graduated, went to college, come home in the summers. You know, he gave me the key, and I went in there and opened that thing up in the mornings for the high school kids. And, you know, it's just an awesome commitment that this community and everybody's made. So very, very proud. And Trevor, you did a heck of a job putting that stuff together. So I'm picking that stuff out. So candidate update. You know, here's where what we've been doing kind of with that. I met with all the principals at all the schools and kind of got a feel and a pulse and a layout of what we're dealing with as far as facilities and resources and personnel. And obviously at the K4 level, there hasn't been much going on there in the past, and we're planning on putting a strategic plan together for that. But by doing that, I got a lot of names from some key stakeholders in each school, and we formulated a Shelton K-8 Athletic Advisory Committee. And we've met and we've talked, and what we want to do is we want to streamline the process so what one school does feeds into what the next school does. And so we try to have the sports that are applicable, that are going to go from K4 into 5-6, into 7-8, into the high school. And that has been an ongoing process. We plan on having that done by the end of this year, and have that plan ready for implementation going into next year. At the K4 level, I don't think we felt like that's the time to implement anything this year and do much. There's a lot of things going on in that realm of their world. I did talk with Principal Brady at OMS, and we're going to meet here in March, beginning of March, and see if we can't get some things going. But they wanted to have a couple weeks of kids in school to try to see what that's all going to look like before we try to worry about doing some after-school activities there. And then at the 7-8 level, we've got 3 sports going on. We got 11 sports total. We got 3 sports going on right now that started a week ago, Monday. We got cross country. We got 11 kids out for cross country. We got girls volleyball. We got 42 girls out for volleyball. And we got boys soccer, which we got 16 kids out. And their games would have started this week, but we're not in that magic number of phase 2. So we get to that, we're really excited. The coaches have been awesome. You know, the kids, it's fun. I've been around every practice. I've seen these coaches work. I've seen these kids go. You know, the people are excited and fired up to get back and doing things. And, you know, I think that's the biggest thing is instead of moving backwards, we're kind of see the stick shift got out of reverse and it's getting into first gear, right? And now we got to get it into second gear and get this thing rolling down the track. And, you know, I think it's going to be full steam ahead here, hopefully soon. That's my positive thinking anyway. I'm a positive person if you don't know me. You know, obviously, like Trevor was talking about phase 1 and phase 2, a lot of we play in the Tri-County League at the junior high level. So that's a lot of the region that is in phase 2 in Thurston County, Lewis County, Grays Harbor. They all got selected to go into phase 2. So they're playing. We're in that league. We can't play. We were supposed to have a home volleyball game tomorrow against Chehalis, but because we're not in phase 2, that had to not get scheduled. So we're hoping that gets done. We have set our second season as junior high. Our second season will start March 22nd and go through April 30th, and that will consist of football and girls soccer. You know, the indoor high-risk sports, we're waiting until the end to give them the best opportunity to have a season, and I think that's important. So we're trying to get in those sports that we can get in now. And so, you know, what is kind of our plan here? Our plan is to try to increase participation at all levels in all the schools, because we know that people that are involved usually do better in academics. You know, that's been proven. And if we can have people involved, getting good grades, improving their academics, and hopefully we can pursue competitive excellence in the sports as they move up and have higher expectations, and create some pretty fun athletic events here in Shelton. You know, I remember back when I was in high school, you know, they said, the Mason County Journal said, with the last person to leave town, please turn off the lights. That was the headline in the Mason County Journal. We went to the state championship football game in 1985. And then when we came back, I remember all the EMS vehicles and patrol and everything meeting us at the county line and bringing us back into town and coming through downtown. And everybody was downtown. They didn't even stay in Seattle. They couldn't wait to get downtown to have the parade as we were coming back home. And that wasn't much longer. And we had cement mixers. They had AA state champs 1985 football going around on the cement mixers, right? I can't wait to get that thing going back, you know, and getting that stands filled and building those things. So, you know, it's an exciting time to be in Shelton. I guess, you know, in closing, I look forward to continuing to build and rekindle some relationships. I'd like to thank everyone, and I mean everyone. This community has been nothing but so much support. Everybody, from the day I stepped foot in my rental house out in Union and in Alderbrook, they put together a fundraising golf tournament, you know, just to get headsets so we could have headsets, to Pro Builders First Source for donating buckets, you know, so we could have kids sit 6 feet apart on the sidelines, to, you know, Squaxin Island Tribe for, you know, donating money. You know, I mean, everybody's just been so great. The parents, the people, just everybody I come in contact with. Sometimes they don't want to take me right away, but you know, we get to the root of the problem when problems get solved. But it's just been awesome. It's been off the charts, and you know, I never really understood it at the time, but the coaches always told us, once a climber, always a climber, and it's great to be back at this time in Shelton. So, thanks so much. If anybody's got any questions, love to answer them. Otherwise, you probably see those lights on behind me, and I'm gonna disappear back there.
All right, so any questions or comments for Mark?
I definitely appreciate the programs that you've put together for the 7th and 8th graders. My 13-year-old daughter's participating as one of those 42 girls playing volleyball, and that process has been amazing too. We do the screening check-in beforehand. They get temperature checked before they head in. She's been asking me to bring her earlier now so that she's there, you know, and make sure that she's all checked in and on time. So I know that, you know, the kids really enjoy looking forward to going and attending these practices. My question, because I know that it's not easy with the fact that these are, you know, traditionally after school sports and they're not in school right now. So with participation, I know volleyball, that sounds like quite a bit, but I'm imagining there's probably some transportation problems for parents that may be working, and as people can figure that out, or I don't know if there would be transportation once we're back in the hybrid, how this is going to continue to evolve. But that, you know, obviously that could be an issue for people that may not be able to get their children there at the times that the practices are. I didn't know if you had anything to say about that.
Well, yeah, there was some concern on a couple people's parts, you know, and, you know, we talked to them, and I talked with the coaches. And I said, you know, take a straw poll on how many people are really having a hard time getting to practice. And, you know, to the coaches' credit, every one of them said, you know, if we need to back it up to help accommodate these kids, it's about kids, you know, and we will do that. But to this day, I have never heard anything else since that day about any transportation issues or someone not being able to make it because of transportation. You know, we have to rely on each other, right? You got to rely on your friends. You got to rely on other parents, you know, and that's another thing about this community is how much these parents know these other kids, you know, and take care of them and feed them and have them over at houses and help them, you know. And so, you know, it's got to be a community effort. You know, one thing that's exciting about a one-horse town, you know, is that everybody's for one, right? And we're all here together and we all support one another and help one another out. So, you know, we haven't had any issues there so far.
Brenda, did you want to comment on transportation at all?
I was glad to hear, Mark, that you're not having issues, because I was trying to rack my brain on how we were going to pull that off along with the hybrid. So it would be a challenge for us.
Here's the other thing. You know, I spoke with Holly. You know, I asked Holly. I said, Holly, what days are best to travel? She said Wednesday and Saturdays. So I told our league that if we're leaving to go out of town on an away match, meet, game, we're traveling on Wednesdays or Saturdays. We'll have our home meets on the other days, you know? And so as long as we're up front and trying to work, you know, and everybody's agreed, everybody's got their other issues too. And so we just try to make it work.
We appreciate that, Mark.
Sally, can I make a comment on that? You know, for our kids, if there are transportation issues and family issues where kids can't get to practice or can't go to, I mean, it's no holds barred as far as I'm concerned. If we have to rent buses, find drivers, we'll do whatever to support our kids. That has to be the vision. We do anything we can to help our families through these difficult times, even transporting their kids to athletic contests or practice or what have you. We will work it out to make it happen. The only thing else that I would like to say to Mark, and Mark and I have talked about this, you know, grades K4. My expectation would be that we would spend a lot of time on K4 and make sure that those kids are happy and that they have a positive self-image of themselves. That's going to count. That's going to matter as they move through our system. So spending time creating programs for K4 is extremely important in terms of the big picture. So I've asked Mark to spend a lot of time with principals and teachers and come up with a plan, a strategic plan that will go into effect in the fall of 21, where we have a system that flows very specifically from one level to the other, elementary to the middle school to the junior high and into high school, so that when our kids go to high school, they can't wait to get involved in activities and athletics. That's the ultimate objective. That's the ultimate goal that we have in the Shelton School District. Mark knows that, and I know he's going to make that happen.
Yeah. Right now, you know, the 4 sports that we're really looking at, you know, really it's kind of 5, but it's volleyball, basketball, soccer, and flag football are kind of the 4 we're looking at the K4 with then a track in 3, 4, and 5, 6. You know, the track is sometimes some people I don't know what some people think about it, but to me, track is an athletic event. You see some great things going on track. You know, I always tell people, if I could build a football player, put them on the football field, put them in the wrestling room, and put them on the track. Now, that's a heck of an athlete. That's a tough son of a buck right there. Give me about 25 of those, and we're going to be okay.
The only other thing along with that, Mark, is that I'm hoping that not only do we deal with the athletic piece in K4, that we also create activities for those kids that maybe for one reason or another, they're not interested in the traditional sports program, that we have other ways to involve them in school in a very positive way. I think that's going to be very important. Starting out in K4 is what other activities can there be for kids that maybe don't have an interest in the regular sports that we're talking about. So that's very important.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Other comments or questions for Mark?
Really like the idea and really appreciate hearing about strategic planning. I think it's really important when we're going into something to have that. I guess my other question is, when we're looking at sports and the younger kids especially, is there a connection there with their regular PE classes, or yeah, are we integrating some of that? How are we looking at this sports program and those activities
Sure.
that happen
You know,
during the day?
Yeah, you know, a lot of times it's really good to run those at the same time they might be doing those in PE. So if they're doing a basketball unit in PE, that would be the time. It would be a really good time to run the basketball after school activities, you know, because they coincide, you know,
Right.
they work together. And obviously, you know, you got weather issues that you got to deal with at certain times. You know, certain sports are indoor sports, some certain sports are outdoor sports. And so you run your outdoor sports in good weather, and that's kind of the way the PE teachers do their units and what they're going about too. So yes.
Thank you.
Sally, I missed what you said at the very beginning. Could you please repeat that? What you said?
Oh, I think I was just saying that I really appreciate hearing that the time is being spent and the efforts being put into a strategic plan.
Good. That's right. Thank you.
All right. Other questions or comments before we move on? All right. Well, thank you very much, Mark.
Hey, thanks, guys. Be good.
All right. So we'll move on to item number 5, which is the consent agenda. Minutes, personnel reports, various fund warrants. Any discussion on that? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda for February 9th. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, consent agenda is approved. So moving on to item 6, discussion and action items. The first item is 6.01, reopening of school plan. And I don't have a name with this one. Alex, are you leading us off on this?
Oh, yes. Obviously, we have shared this, our reopening plan for February 22nd in various venues throughout the past month. We have shared it in study sessions, in open forums, and other meetings. I believe we are prepared to start school on February 22nd, bringing back preschool through 1st grade, 5th grade, and 7th grade, and hopefully be able to bring other students back in accordance with what's happening with the virus. But we've been working diligently in terms of support plans to begin school. I feel very confident in our plan, and I'm hoping the board will consider approving the plan so that we can move forward.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? I know we've spent some time in a study session, that there was a open forum with staff last week, and open forum with community, I believe the week before that. So we've had quite a bit of information presented.
And we have an open forum tomorrow also, or excuse me, on Thursday at 6 o'clock. And then one on February 25th, after hopefully school begins, to answer any questions.
All right, questions or comments, or would someone like to make a motion?
I can move that we approve the reopening of school plan.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the reopening of school plan. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have approved the reopening of school plan. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to staff. I know that a lot of work was put into this. Robert, Chelsea, Kelly, Marianne, all of our principals, that a lot of thought and work went into this. And I know as we move along that there will probably be more thought and work as we make adjustments. Terry, everyone that's been working on this, really appreciate all of that. All right, so moving on to item 6.02. Has Sandy been able to join us yet? She was, she had an appointment earlier today that ran later than was expecting. I am not seeing her here. So this is an update on superintendent search. She did send me a little bit of information. As far as the superintendent search, the application and the job posting was put into place at the end of January, in that last week. She talked with our superintendent consultants earlier, either yesterday or today, asking about interest in the job. And so far, they've had several inquiries about it. So it's still pretty early in the process. I believe we're open till, does anybody remember? I'm not remembering how long we have this open for, if it's till like the middle of March or the end of February. So they were pretty positive about where we were in the process.
Sally, I've got a date of February 25th as the closing of the superintendent search.
Excellent, thank you. So about 2.5 weeks still. So hopefully we will have more interest as we move forward and have quite a few qualified applicants who apply. Any questions, comments? Not that I'm likely to be able to answer them beyond that, but all right, great, thank you. So moving on to item 6.03, which is the proposed resolution number 2101, delegating authority to the WIAA for the 2021 school year. So Trevor. Is Trevor still with us? Oh, there he is.
There I am, hi. So this is the thing that you have to approve to make sure that we are able to participate in the WIAA. So hopefully we can get a motion to approve it and move on.
Yeah, we usually do this in the spring, but I know in the spring we were sort of busy with other things. So so this basically we delegate this authority then for this year, and then will we look at this again then for the 21-22 school year, probably
Yes.
late spring, early summer?
Usually June, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, usually June, yeah.
All right. Any questions about this? All right. If there's no questions, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2101.
I move that we approve resolution 2101.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2101, delegating authority to the WIAA. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, resolution has passed. Thank you, Trevor. All right, so we're going to move on to item 7, superintendent's report. And just as a reminder, if anyone is hoping to make public comment after the superintendent's report, we will have another community comment period. So this would be a good time to call in if you would like to present a public comment. All right, Alex.
Madam President, if I can interrupt you for just a second, Sandy Tarswell just joined the meeting if you wanted to ask any further questions regarding your prior article.
Thanks, Bob. So Sandy, 6.02, we did a quick superintendent search update, just updating folks on where we were on that and that there had been some interest so far. If you had anything to add, this would be a good time to do it before we move on.
That pretty much sums it up. There had been some interest. Rich had talked to a couple of individuals directly that were interested as well. So things are moving along.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Alex, on to your report.
Thank you, Sally. Before I begin, I want to say a few words about my dear friend, Ricardo. Ricardo brought forward the best of humanity every day. He was giving beyond self every day of his life. And I saw this happen every day. That's all he thought about, is how he could help other people. He was a true champion of the people, all people. There will never, in my mind, ever be another Ricardo. He was my dear friend, and I will never forget his goodness and humanity. It's a tough loss, folks. Believe me. Big loss. I'd like to thank the board for their confidence in supporting our reopening plan. We won't let you down. I can guarantee it. We are poised to have a great opening on February 22nd. I'm not saying that everything is going to be perfect on that day, but we're prepared to make it perfect if it's not perfect that first few days. I want to share my superintendent report time with members of my cabinet and staff. And first, I want to just say that we put a video together that really supports what we're going to do on February 22nd. And we had many people that worked on this video. Chelsea, Mary Ann, Katie, just additional people that worked very hard in a short period of time to put this video together so that we could show it to you tonight, and we're going to put it on our website, and we're going to show it to the world, because I think it's a great video on how school will begin on February 22nd. So on that, I'm going to turn it over to Mary Ann and Katie and Chelsea. Take it from here.
I believe Bob is going to play the video for us. Bob, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome.
Can everybody hear this?
At Shelton School District, the health and safety of our students, staff, and families remains our top priority. We have been hard at work making sure we are ready to safely welcome students back for in-person learning in a blended model. Students will attend school face-to-face on Monday and Tuesday, or Thursday and Friday. Wednesdays are online learning days for all, with staff having office hours, planning, and/or online class meetings. Pre-K, kindergartners, and grades 1, 5, and 7 are set to return to school on February 22nd. Grades 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8 through 12 are set to start March 15th. In this video, we will go over what a typical day will look like while at school and highlight important safety procedures to ensure that students and staff are as safe as possible when they return to school. So what does a typical day look like? All students must wear face masks. All students are required to wear a face mask that covers their nose and mouth at all times while at school and on buses. Students should bring their own face covering daily, but schools can provide masks to students who forget them. Reusable, multi-layer cloth masks are recommended. Gaiters do not provide acceptable protection. Reusable masks should be laundered regularly or anytime that they become soiled. If your child rides the bus, they are required to wear a mask. Our bus drivers will carry extras just in case. All students will sit in their assigned seats. Siblings can sit together in a seat, but all other students will sit one student per seat. All high contact areas and seats will be sanitized between routes and when they return to the bus garage. Before arriving at school, elementary students, parents, and/or guardians will fill out a daily COVID attestation form. Students will be given unique QR codes. Each school will work with families to provide attestation forms. Parents and or guardians will send the form to school with their student every day. The QR code is unique for every student and cannot be used for other students in the family. Middle, junior high, and high school students will be given unique QR codes and will answer the COVID questions themselves upon arrival to school. Or they will have the option to sign in using their smartphones and answer the questions in advance by visiting the app screenmein.com. When students arrive to campus, they will go to a COVID screening location near the front entrance or bus entrance at each campus. The screening locations will be clearly marked. If students arrive late, they will go to the screening location at the front office. At the COVID screening location, students will scan their QR code at the screening kiosk. The kiosk will scan their temperature. The screener will ask the attestation questions if the student has not already answered them. If the student passes the questions and their temperature is under 100 degrees, they will be admitted into the building and asked to go to a hand washing station to wash their hands. If the student does not pass the questionnaire or their temperature is above 100 degrees, they will be sent to a secondary screener for a more advanced screening. If their temperature is confirmed 100 degrees or higher, or if the child is visibly ill, not related to seasonal allergies, or if any of the questions are confirmed as a yes answer, the student will be taken to an isolation room and their parent, guardian, or emergency contact will be asked to pick them up. Students who fail screening may not return to school for 3 calendar days or longer if quarantine is required and their symptoms or temperature have subsided. It is important for students to keep their hands clean throughout the day. Students must wash their hands upon arriving to school and will be required to wash them at multiple points throughout the day. This includes before eating meals, after recess, after PE, and completing projects or activities. Hand sanitizer stations have also been placed throughout our campus to help supplement hand washing. Although students will be excited to see their friends again when returning to campus, 6 feet of physical distancing will be required at all times, except when incidentally passing each other in hallways and momentary encounters on campus. Students will be able to talk to each other at appropriate moments, and there will be opportunities for socializing, but masks and distancing will be required. Classrooms have been set up so that tables and desks are 6 feet apart, side to side, and back to front. Our maintenance department has been working with our buildings to determine max capacity for students to safely distance in a classroom while sitting 6 feet apart. Students will not be sharing supplies or materials. Students will sanitize their hands upon entering the classroom. At the end of class, students will help wipe down their desk or any materials if they are transitioning to another class. Students will not bring their Chromebook back and forth for grades K through 6. In grades 7 through 12, they will be asked to bring their Chromebooks to and from home and school. Schools will be contacting families and publishing school supply lists on the district website. Teachers and students will continue to use the K-12 curriculum during hybrid. Meals will remain free for all students for the remainder of the 2020-21 school year. Meals will be in grab-and-go bags with a complete breakfast or lunch, and all items will be prepackaged. While at school, students will pick up their lunch, and depending on their school, go to the Commons, cafeteria, or classroom to eat. During Stage B, or the blended model, grab-and-go meal services will continue at the Shelton High School, Evergreen Elementary, and Bordeaux Elementary from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on scheduled school days for students learning remotely, and also for community members 18 years of age or younger. Meals are limited to 1 breakfast and 1 lunch per child per day. We are working hard to provide as many meals as possible to every child in need. If a student receives meals while at school, they are not to pick up meals for the same day from the open site. K-8 schools, along with Choice and Cedar High School, will release 60 minutes early for asynchronous learning. Shelton High School will release at 12:30 for asynchronous learning. Asynchronous learning means that they will be learning independently from home. Students will also have 3 asynchronous days a week. Schools will be reaching out with more information. Shelton School District will continue to focus on creating a safe and healthy school environment as we transition to in-person learning. If you have questions, feel free to contact your school or call our district office at 360-426-1687 or visit our district website. We look forward to seeing you soon.
And I'm sure everybody knows who narrated that beautiful video. That was Chelsea. She did an excellent job. And Chelsea, do you want to comment at all on the video?
Oh, I'm happy with how it turned out. And, you know, Alex told us he wanted something that was very clear for families, that gave, you know, just a solid overview from start to finish when they get on the bus to when they go home. So hopefully, I think that's what, you know, was delivered. But yeah, it turned out. I think it's funny to watch myself as the screener and the cafeteria worker. I didn't really realize how it was going to look that way, but that's okay. It's a good overview.
I will say to this something before the board makes any comments. When I assigned this to happen, I wanted it done obviously very quickly. And so I said, you know, there's 2 people that at the ESD that can help us, because I knew that it was going to be a task with everything else going on. But a lot of pride, a lot of Shelton pride here, folks, because they didn't ask anybody from the ESD to help them. This was all done internally. And I'm very happy with everything that took place here with this video. And it's going to be a very informative video for our families starting tomorrow. And we'll continue to show it on site everywhere. So thank you to everybody for a great job.
Can we give a shout out to Joey? And if Katie's on here, she can mention his last name. Joey from the high school helped us do the audio, which, I mean, that was amazing. He did such a great job. And Katie was wonderful to work with. She did all of the shots around at all the different buildings. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
It's Joey Seward.
He was awesome.
He's great.
Joey was great. And I'll also throw in there that we do have a Spanish version, and Ricardo del Bosque Jr. narrated it for us, and it sounds fantastic. And that will be posted tomorrow as well.
Great. That's wonderful.
Yeah, fantastic job, everyone. Very well done. I don't know if any other board members have comments.
I thought it was great. It perfectly depicts, you know, what that's going to look like, which I think is so important for people to be able to see that. I mean, I didn't know what sanitizing the bus was going to look like. You know, that I didn't realize it was kind of a fancy machine and not just a spray bottle and somebody, you know, wiping down seats. So, you know, and again, to see the actual check-in as well too, and how desks don't, you know, they're spaced apart, but they don't look like they're so far apart. So, you know, for me as a mom with kids going back to school, that's important to me too, you know, that they do still have that sense of being in a classroom with the other students that are there, but doing this safely. So I thought it was really well done. I'm glad we have a Spanish version coming out as well too, and that Ricardo del Bosque Jr. can help us with all of these things. He's been so kind to do that.
Right. And both our Spanish version and English version will be online tomorrow. And I think it'll be very beneficial.
I was just going to add, it's an excellent piece of communication. Great job, bravo to everybody that worked on it. And video is always such a better way to communicate with people. It's just, you know, we all say a picture says 1,000 words, but video is just beyond that. So bravo, well done.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Carrie. Are there any more comments from the board, or should we move on, Sally?
I think we can go ahead and move on.
Okay, very good. Next, we want to make sure that February 22nd is absolutely perfect. And a big part of that is making sure that we have appropriate staff in our schools. And I'd like for Kelly Neely to give you a glimpse of the process that we've gone through to ensure that we have both certified and classified staff in every one of our schools on February 22nd. And Kelly, would you kind of give the board a glimpse of our work?
Yes, I will. Hi, everybody. Can you all hear me okay? Awesome. And is my screen showing for you?
Yes.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for the head nods. I appreciate it. So this is kind of the format that we've been using. I'm going to show you the elementary and then one of the elementaries and then OMS. So on this form, let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger for you. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah.
I saw Sally getting closer to her screen. So,
yeah.
So here we have on this first line, this is Bordeaux, but they all look the same. They just have different numbers in them. So across the top, we've been tracking the teachers that are going to be working 100% online. So if you look here in kindergarten, we have a teacher's name and then we have an in-house specialist. So it could be their PE person, their art person, their music person. We left that a little bit open because things are changing quite a bit as we get a little bit closer. The principals really wanted me to emphasize with you that this is how it stands today at whatever time it is, 7:32 p.m. on February 9th, because it has changed daily. And they're really doing a phenomenal job trying to keep up with meeting the needs of all the parents and the requests. If we can do it, we do it. If we can't, we can't. And then also the requests and the needs of the teachers, because as we get closer to opening, we have had a few more teachers and paras, all kinds of people put in for to be able to stay home, to work from home. So it kind of changes things up, but this is how it stands right now. So we've tracked that all the way across here. Then you'll see teachers working in person. So we put the people that will be working in person. And then the teachers pending to work from home, we don't have any pending at the moment for any of the 3 elementary schools. The number of students returning at each grade level, number of students that are going to be 100% online. Then the principals went through and decided how many classes based on those numbers would they need in person and how many they would need online. And we really tried to stick to not going into overage, making those classes as small as we can. This is the best that we could do for our students. Then are all classes covered? Yes, all classes are covered at this time. I don't anticipate it changing because we've been very flexible about moving people in and out. But at this time, at all 3 elementary schools, every class is covered. Certs needing subs, we have none right now. And then potential teachers who need maybe quarantine. We've talked about that coming off of break, what might happen. So over here, you see the total of students returning in person, 309, and 119 remaining online at the school. They're about the same at all 3 elementary schools, right around that ballpark. So I just wanted to give you another little snapshot right over here. We have A days, how many kids will be here? B days, how many kids will be here? So they want you to know that for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, these numbers aren't quite balanced out yet the way that they will finally be because they don't come back on the 22nd. So we're still moving things a little bit around for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, but kindergarten and 1st are pretty set. So we will have 58 kindergartners and 165 65 first graders during this time. That's how we're rolling. 136 kids total on A days and 173. But like I said, that will probably shift some when we move some of these kids over. Every school is still working with their parents to try to find the best fit for them for daycare, for social needs that they have, for all kinds of things that have come up. So we're still making those adjustments. As I said, Mountain View, Evergreen, they're all the same. Then I wanted to show you OMS, which looks almost exactly the same to OBJ. It's just different grade levels. We have the teachers again across the top, the ones working in person, and remember they're split up in kind of a different way there. So we have 5th and 6th grade, no teachers pending at the moment. Number of students returning, 180 in 5th, 197 in 6th. Staying online, 104 and 88. Teachers needed per level, and then classes that are 100% online. Are all classes covered? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. If you look over here, it's the same thing. We have how many will be on A days, 190, and B days, 187. Both Chelsea and Mario are a little bit more settled than the elementaries because they have more grade levels to work with. So theirs are more stable that way. But if you look across here at 6th grade, you know, we have the total of 5th grade, I'm sorry, 180.
So Kelly, this is the process that we went through with every school. And we worked with principals, both in regards to certified and classified staffing. And we're moving forward very nicely at this point.
Every school, we will get choice, Cedar and Shelton High School done again before we head into the next round of coming back on March 15th. So yeah, they really thought long and hard, and the staff has been amazing for rolling with it because we've had to make a lot of changes in some places. So.
Okay.
All done. Any questions?
Questions or comments for Kelly? Amazing. I know it's a big jigsaw puzzle.
They really, I mean, I can't give enough kudos for them. And even today we were working on bringing the para educators back, and everybody is looking out for each other and really trying to bring this. It is a big jigsaw, but we did it. We're doing it.
I'm very pleased with the effort here. It's complicated, but we're looking very good. Terry's been working very consistently with principals, along with Brenda and Kelly and Mary Ann. It's taken a lot of work to get us to this point, but I'm feeling very confident about starting school on the 22nd, that we're going to be appropriately staffed. And like Kelly was inferring, you know, this is where we are right now, but, you know, I think this is where we're going to be. And we'll make adjustments as we start school. We anticipate there'll be issues, and we're going to be prepared to deal with those issues.
Excellent. Thank you. Anything else for your report this evening, Alex?
If Bruce Kipper is with us still, Bruce, you had an employee that was recognized as Employee of the Month. Is that correct?
Yes. Somebody had mentioned Ian earlier in the meeting, and I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that Ian was recognized as our Staff Member of the Month for January. Well deserved. I see it every day, so I can't imagine, but I can only imagine like these tech guys, how they're going through all they're doing. They've been amazing at all of our schools, but I see it at Shelton High School every day. So
Ian's in the tech department and is responsible for Shelton High School. Great employee. I know that everyone on our cabinet and staff thinks well on their feet, so I'm going to ask Don Wielander to make mention what's happened with our with Michael Brulette's club and the great things that are happening with that organization. Don, can you say a few things?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm sure that you, I think all of you got a email that showed that he's continuing on with his Cyber Patriots, and they just had another competition and took first place in the state of Washington. So they are just really doing an amazing job. And that is a program that we want to continue to move forward in the district and give those students and those kids whatever they need to be successful. So, and they do this competition nationally also. So I'm looking forward to some really great things from his program that he's running there.
Thank you very much, Don. Good news, just good news. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alex. Appreciate all of that. So this brings us to the second community comment section of our agenda. If anyone is interested in making a community comment, please raise your hand. As a reminder, if you're on your phone, that is using *9, and then we can recognize you for comment. So if anyone is interested, this would be the time. All right, so I'm not seeing any. So we will go ahead and move on to board member comments. So Sally Brownfield, do you want to go first tonight?
Sure. I don't have a whole lot, just it was a lot to take in tonight. And just, it's been a lot of work to get to this point by lots and lots and lots of everyone working together. I know there's been nervousness along the way, and I think in one of the reports there, I think it was Bob that said flexibility. So, and there's been a lot of that, and everybody just hanging in there going, okay, we're going to go this way. Oh, the road's turning that way now. Now it's going this way. But we've all hung in there, and we've heard the voice of the community, and really feels good to get to this point in so many ways, and with so much from the athletics that we heard from tonight, from the video for the opening. I think this just gives our community a sigh of hope, and continuing on. And so I'm really happy. I'm really, really happy for our children that they're going to see. They're going to be in their school. They're going to see their friends. They're going to feel some semblance of normalcy during these crazy times. And it is a time of change, and that's hard. And I believe some of these changes will be with us for a long, long time. But how we get through this and how we live through this together is a testament to the strength and the ability of our community to work together. So I'm very, very hopeful.
Thank you, Sally. Lynn, would you like to go next?
Sure. So like Sally, I'm excited to see a little light at the end of the tunnel, you know, for our kids and the community, and having the schools reopen. Also had a chance to finally see the track in person yesterday, and what a feeling. I mean, for me as a community member, to see that, I can't even imagine what our kids must feel, and can't wait till we can have spectators back there. And Trevor, I will be getting in touch with you for a tour of the facilities, because Carrie made it sound really exciting. So just thank you for all the work you guys did in the reopening. And I mean, I'm excited to be. I was going to mention I was at the 1985 championship game in Seattle. I can remember that feeling of pride, and it's exciting to see that returning to our community. So well done, everyone.
Thank you, Lynn. Sandy, would you like to go next?
Certainly. Again, thank everyone for getting us prepared for the reopening of school. I know there's a lot of high hopes for the last few months. Hopefully the weather cooperates too, gets the snow out of the way before the first day of school. That would be nice. And congrats to the Cyber Patriots, and the video does look outstanding. I'm sure people will find that very helpful. And of course, condolences to Ricardo's family. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Sandy. Carrie.
Yes, I was going to say that, it's the last week has been some really high highs, of which was touring the facilities and being so excited to see those. And then just some terrible lows. I have to say that the news on Monday about Ricardo was just very sad. And it's, he's just the type of person that can't be replaced. And in the 5.5 years that I've been on the school board, watching what he's built and what he's done in our community has been really incredible. And I hope we can continue with his work. And I really appreciate his son for, contributing and helping. I don't know if that's something that he will continue to do, but I've definitely appreciated that. I just want to say I'll miss seeing his smile. And I would like to offer my condolences to his family and just to everybody who knew him and worked with him and was a friend to him. And that's all I have to say tonight.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you again to everyone. Getting to the point where February 22nd is in our sights has been a monumental effort. And I know I mentioned several people before, but you all done an amazing job. Holly in transportation, I know, talking about puzzle pieces, honestly, that's probably an even bigger puzzle piece to be working with. All of our principals and all of their staff. Just amazing, amazing work. And thank you for that. You've gone after this with vigor and with excitement. And that's very much appreciated, not only by all of us, but by the community as well. I did want to mention that I know we mentioned it earlier, but there is a community forum on Thursday from 6 to 7:30. There'll be an opportunity to ask more questions, because I'm sure parents and family members and students and staff may have additional questions or things that they have thought of since the last time we had a forum. And that is all for me. We do not have an executive session tonight, so we will move on to item 11, which is adjournment, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.